Meet Chidi, the groom whose face went pale as paper. Standing at the church entrance was a man they all recognized. His skin bore the scars of leprosy. His clothes were clean but simple. In his hand, he held a brown envelope. "Continue," he said quietly, his voice carrying through the silence. "I only came to deliver something." No one moved. The priest's mouth hung open. The bride's mother gasped and covered her face. This was Chidi, the man the entire Okonkwo family had mocked for 3 years, the man they called cursed, the man they refused to let eat from their plates, the man who, they were about to discover, owned everything they thought they had. Before we continue, if you value stories that teach us about life, kindness, and the truth hidden in plain sight, please subscribe to this channel. We bring you meaningful African stories that touch the soul and open the mind. Your support helps us continue sharing these lessons. Now, let us return to Chidi's story and how it all began. Chidi arrived in Amakor village on a Tuesday morning. He came on foot, carrying a small bag, walking with the careful steps of someone whose body had known pain. The disease had left its marks on his face and hands. His fingers were shortened. His skin showed patches of pale scarring. But his eyes were clear and steady. He rented a small room at the edge of the village. The landlord, Mr. Obi, hesitated before accepting his money. "I will not cause trouble," Chidi said calmly. "I only need a place to rest." Mr. Obi took the money but warned him, "People here fear leprosy. Even if you are no longer contagious, they will not understand. Keep to yourself." Chidi nodded. He had heard this before. The Okonkwo family was the most respected in Amakor village. Chief Okonkwo owned land, buildings, and a transport business. His wife, Adaeze, was known for her expensive wrappers and loud opinions. Their daughter, Nkiru, was beautiful and proud. Nkiru was engaged to Emeka, a young man from the city who worked in a bank. The wedding was planned for 3 years later, and the whole village knew about it. The Okonkwos lived in a large house, painted yellow and white. They employed a cook, a cleaner, and a gateman. They spoke often about respect, honor, and family name. But they knew nothing about true humility. Chidi met Nkiru at the market village. He was buying vegetables when she walked past with her friends. One of them pointed at him and whispered loudly, "Is that the leper who moved here?" Nkiru turned and stared, her face twisted with disgust. "Why would such a person come to our village? Does he not know he brings bad luck?" Chidi continued selecting his vegetables. He did not respond. "Are you deaf?" Nkiru's friend called out. "She is talking to you." Chidi finally looked up. He met Nkiru's eyes calmly. "I am only buying food. I mean no harm to anyone." Nkiru laughed, a sharp sound without warmth. "You mean harm just by being here. Stay away from decent people." She walked away, her friends giggling behind her. The market woman selling vegetables looked at Chidi with pity. "Do not mind them," she whispered. "Your money is as good as anyone's." Chidi smiled slightly. "Thank you, Mama." The market woman was called Mama Ngozi. She was a widow who sold vegetables to support her 3 children. Life had not been easy for her, and this had taught her to see people clearly. As weeks passed, Mama Ngozi noticed something about Chidi. He always paid fair prices. He never argued or complained. When her youngest child was playing nearby and fell, Chidi helped the boy up and checked his knee for injury. "You are kind," Mama Ngozi said one day. "Kindness costs nothing," Chidi replied. "But many people act as if it costs everything," she answered. They began to talk regularly. Chidi learned that Mama Ngozi struggled to pay school fees. Her eldest daughter, Chioma, was brilliant but might have to drop out of secondary school. Chidi said nothing at the time, But the next week, Chidi gave Mama Ngozi an envelope. "What is this?" she asked. "For Chioma's school fees and books." Mama Ngozi's hands trembled. Inside was more money she earned in 3 months. "I cannot accept this. It is too much." "It is not too much," Chidi said gently. "Education is never too much. Let the girl study." Tears filled Mama Ngozi's eyes. "Who are you?" "Someone who was helped once. Now I help others," Chidi said. Over the following months, people began to notice Chidi's pattern. He helped the old carpenter fix his roof. He paid for medicine when the tailor's wife fell sick. He gave food to the widow who lived alone. But he did these things quietly. He never announced his help. He never asked for praise or recognition. Most people in the village did not see this. They only saw his appearance. They called him the leper and avoided him. Parents pulled their children away when he walked past. The Okonkwo family was the worst. Whenever Chidi appeared near their house or their businesses, Chief Okonkwo would shout at his gateman, "Drive that cursed man away! He brings misfortune!" Chidi never argued. He simply walked away quietly. Nkiru took particular pleasure in mocking Chidi. Whenever she saw him, she made loud comments to whoever was with her. "Look at that wretched creature," she would say. "How does he dare to walk among healthy people? Has he no shame?" Chidi continued walking past the Okonkwo house when it began to rain heavily. He stood under a nearby tree for shelter. Nkiru saw him from her window. She came outside, holding an umbrella. "You cannot stand here," she announced. "This tree is on our property. Move away." The rain was pouring. The nearest shelter was far. "It is only rain," Chidi said calmly. "I will move when it stops." "You will move now," Nkiru's voice rose. "Do you think we want a leper near our house? What if someone sees you and think we are associated with you?" Chidi looked at her for a long moment. Then he stepped out from under the tree into the heavy rain and walked away, his thin shirt soaking through immediately. Nkiru went back inside, satisfied. But Mama Ngozi had seen everything from her stall across the road. She shook her head slowly. Some lessons, she thought, can only be learned the hard way. Emeka, Nkiru's fiancé, visited from the city every month. He was a quiet man who worked hard at his bank job. He loved Nkiru's beauty and confidence, but sometimes her words troubled him. One evening, Nkiru was telling him about Chidi with laughter. "You should see how he runs when Papa shouts at him, like a wounded dog." Emeka frowned. "Why do you treat him that way? Has he done something wrong?" "Wrong. He exists. That is wrong enough. Who wants a leper in their village?" "But leprosy is curable now," Emeka said carefully. "If he is here, he must be cured. He is not contagious." Nkiru's face darkened. "Are you defending him? A leper over your own fiancé?" "I am not defending anyone. I am only saying we should not be cruel without reason." "Then maybe you should marry him instead of me," Nkiru snapped. Emeka fell silent. He was not a man who enjoyed conflict. He decided to say nothing more. But doubt had entered his heart. What no one knew was that Chidi had been attending quiet meetings in Lagos. Once a month, he took a bus to the city. He wore simple clothes and carried a worn bag. In Lagos, he met with lawyers, accountants, and property managers. He reviewed documents, signed papers, and made decisions about millions of naira and thousands of dollars. Chidi owned estates in both Nigeria and the United States. His wealth came from wise investments made years ago before his illness. When leprosy struck him, he had retreated from public life, but his lawyers had continued managing his properties. Now, after years of treatment and healing, Chidi was ready to reclaim his life. But first, he wanted to do something important.
He wanted to see how people truly are when they thought he had nothing. Wealth can hide many things. Poverty reveals truth. The 3 years in Amakor had taught him everything he needed to know. 1 month before Nkiru's wedding, Chief Okonkwo's lawyers informed him of something interesting. The land under Chief Okonkwo's house was among properties Chidi had purchased years ago as an investment. The previous owner's children were selling off inherited land, and Chidi had bought several plots through a trust. The lawyer showed him the documents. "This family has been illegally occupying your property for 3 years, sir. The lease their father had expired. We have sent them notice." Chidi looked at the name. Chief Okonkwo. He smiled sadly. Life, it seemed, had its own.
"However," Chidi continued, "I am not you. I will not treat you the way you treated me." Hope flickered in Chief Okonkwo's eyes. "You may stay until 1 month after the wedding, but there is a condition." "Anything," the chief said quickly. "At the wedding, in front of all your guests, you will tell the truth. You will tell them who I am and what you did to me. You will apologize publicly, not because I need your apology, but because your daughter needs to learn that actions have consequences and that pride comes before a fall." The chief's face went gray. A public humiliation at his daughter's wedding in front of the entire village. "If you refuse," Chidi said, "you will leave my property tomorrow. The choice is yours." Chief Okonkwo looked at his wife. She nodded slowly, tears streaming down her face. "We accept," the chief whispered. Which brings us back to where we began, the cathedral, the 200 guests, the moment Chidi walked through the door holding his envelope. After the initial shock, the priest recovered. "Sir, can this wait until after the ceremony?" "It cannot," Chidi said. "What I have to say must be said now while everyone is gathered." Nkiru's hands trembled. Emeka looked confused. Chief Okonkwo stood up slowly from his seat. "This man," the chief began, his voice shaking, "is Mr. Chidi Okafor. He is the owner of the land our house stands on. He owns properties across Nigeria and America." Gasps filled the church. People turned to stare at Chidi. The leper? The cursed man? "For 3 years," the chief continued, his voice breaking, "my family treated him with cruelty. We mocked him. We insulted him. We called him cursed. My daughter drove him into the rain rather than let him shelter under our tree." Nkiru's face was white. She looked like she might faint. "We judged him by his appearance. We never asked who he was. We never showed him kindness. We believed that because he looked poor and sick, he had no value." The chief's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "We were wrong. We were blind. We were proud. And now we stand here in shame." All eyes turned to Nkiru. She stood frozen in her white dress, the beautiful bride who suddenly looked very small. Chidi walked slowly down the aisle. He stopped in front of her. "I am not here to ruin your wedding. I am here to deliver something your father asked me to bring." He handed her the envelope. With shaking hands, she opened it. Inside were the property documents for the house she had grown up in. "I am gifting this house to your father, not because he deserves it, but because mercy is not about deserving. It is about choosing to be better than those who wronged you." Tears poured down Nkiru's face, real tears, not of joy, but of shame so deep it burned. "I am sorry," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I am so sorry. I was cruel. I was proud. I was wrong." For the first time in her life, Nkiru understood what she had really been. Not confident, not dignified, just cruel. Emeka walked to the front of the church. He looked at Nkiru, then at Chidi, then at the gathered crowd. "I need a moment to speak with my bride, alone." The priest nodded.
Emeka led Nkiru to a side room. The guests waited in uncomfortable silence. 10 minutes later, they returned. Emeka faced the crowd. "This wedding will not happen today." Shock rippled through the church. Nkiru's mother wailed, but Emeka raised his hand. "Not because I do not care for Nkiru, but because we both need time. She needs time to understand who she wants to be. I need time to understand if I can marry someone who treated another human being the way she treated Mr. Chidi." He turned to Nkiru. "If you can learn real humility, not shame forced by exposure, but real change that comes from the heart, then perhaps we can talk again in a year. But I will not marry pride dressed in white." Nkiru sobbed, but she nodded, because she knew he was right. The wedding reception hall stood decorated but empty of celebration. Chief Okonkwo offered to let the food be distributed to the village poor rather than let it waste. Chidi agreed to help. Together, the chief and the man he had mocked, they carried plates of jollof rice, fried chicken, and moi moi to people who rarely ate such food. The village watched in silence as Chief Okonkwo, in his expensive suit, served food to the same people he used to overlook. Mama Ngozi came to help. So did the carpenter. So did the tailor and his wife. Even some guests who came for the wedding stayed to serve. Nkiru, still in her wedding dress, removed her veil and joined them. Her makeup ran with tears as she handed food to elderly women who looked at her with surprise and something like pity. It was the strangest wedding day anyone in Amakor had ever witnessed. That evening, Chidi sat in his small rented room for the last time. Tomorrow he would return to Lagos. His work was done. Mama Ngozi came to say goodbye. "You changed this village," she said. "The village changed itself," Chidi corrected. "I only held up a mirror." "Will you come back?" "Perhaps, but not to live. I have other places to be, other people to help quietly." Mama Ngozi smiled through her tears. "Chiono wants to be like you. She says when she finishes university, she wants to help people the way you helped her." "Then I have done something worthwhile," Chidi said. They embraced. She left. Chidi sat in the darkness, thinking about the 3 years he had spent being called cursed. He felt no anger, no bitterness, only a quiet satisfaction that he had proven something important, that a man's worth is not in his appearance or his wealth, it is in his character. In the weeks after the failed wedding, Chief Okonkwo became a different man. He still lived in the house Chidi had gifted him, but he lived quietly now. He rebuilt his transport business slowly, honestly, without the pride and sharp practices he had used before. He treated his workers fairly. He paid on time. He stopped demanding respect and started earning it. One day, he traveled to Lagos to visit Chidi. "I do not expect forgiveness," he said. "I only came to say that you taught me something I should have learned long ago, that a man who cannot show mercy when he has power is not a man at all. He is just a loud echo." Chidi received him kindly. They drank palm wine together and spoke about life, about mistakes, about learning. When the chief left, he was not angry anymore, not at Chidi, not at life, not even at himself. He was just humbled. Nkiru did not marry that year, or the year after. She enrolled in social work training. She volunteered at a hospital where patients with skin diseases came for treatment. She sat with them. She listened to their stories. She learned their names. The beautiful, proud girl who had driven a sick man into the rain became a woman who held the hands of sick people and told them they mattered. Emeka watched from a distance. He saw the change. It was real. It was slow. It was painful for her. 2 years after the failed wedding, Emeka came to see her. "I am not the same person," she told him. "I do not know if I will ever be what you wanted." "You are better," he said. "You are real." They married quietly in a small ceremony. No cathedral, no 200 guests, just family and the people Nkiru had learned to serve. Chidi was invited. He attended. He blessed them. And he saw in Nkiru's eyes something he had not seen before, genuine humility, earned through suffering and change. 5 years after Chidi left Amakor, he received a letter from Mama Ngozi. It was written by her daughter, Chioma, now in her 3rd year of university studying medicine. Dear Uncle Chidi, Mama asked me to write to you because she wants you to know what your kindness has become. I am in medical school now. I am studying to be a dermatologist, a doctor who treats skin diseases. I chose this because of you. I want to help people who look different, who are treated as cursed, who are driven into the rain by proud people who do not see the God in every human face. Mama says you planted seeds in Amakor. I want you to know they are growing. The village is different now. People speak of kindness as something important, not something weak. Thank you for seeing me when I was just a poor market woman's daughter. Thank you for believing that my mind mattered more than my mother's income. I will make you proud. Chioma. Chidi read the letter 3 times. Then he folded it carefully and placed it in a box where he kept important things. This, he thought, is what wealth really means. Not buildings or land, but lives changed for the better. 7 years after he left Amakor, Chidi returned, not as the leper, not as the stranger, but as himself. He came to open a medical clinic, built with his money and named after his late mother. The clinic would provide free treatment for skin diseases.
Mama Ngozi passed away at the age of 78. She died peacefully, surrounded by her children and grandchildren, all educated, all employed, all teaching their own children the values she had taught them. At her funeral, Chidi stood to speak. His voice was steady, but his eyes were wet. "This woman saw me when others looked away," he said. "She sold me vegetables when others refused my money. She talked to me when others fell silent as I approached. She did not have wealth, she did not have status, but she had something more valuable than both. She had a good heart." He paused, looking at the casket. "Mama Ngozi taught me that the kingdom of heaven belongs to people like her, not because they go to church every Sunday, though she did, not because they pray long prayers, though she did, but because they practice what Christ actually taught, seeing the Christ in every person, especially the ones society overlooks." After the funeral, Dr. Chioma approached Chidi. "My mother loved you like a son," she said. "And I loved her like a mother," Chidi replied. "She was the first person in Amakor who treated me like a human being. That gift is beyond price." They stood together in silence, honoring the woman who had seen clearly when others were blind. Emeka, now in his 50s, sat in his living room one evening with his eldest daughter. She was studying philosophy at university and had come home for the holidays. "Papa," she asked, "tell me again about the wedding that did not happen." Emeka smiled. He had told this story many times, but he never grew tired of it. "I was standing at that altar, about to marry the most beautiful woman in the village. But beauty is easy to love. Character is what requires real commitment." "And you saw that she did not have character?" Emeka corrected. "I saw that she had not yet developed her character. There is a difference. Some people are born with good character. Others must forge it through trials and pain. Your mother is the second type." "Was it hard," his daughter asked, "to call off the wedding?" "The hardest thing I have ever done. I loved her, but I loved the truth more. And the truth was that we were not ready. She was not ready to be a wife who builds up rather than tears down. I was not ready to be a husband who accepts cruelty in exchange for beauty." "But you did marry her eventually." "Yes, 2 years later, after she had worked on herself, after she had learned humility the hard way, and she became the best partner I could have hoped for, not because she was perfect, but because she had been broken and had let herself be remade into something better."
His daughter thought about this. So Uncle Chidi did not ruin the wedding, he saved it. He saved more than the wedding. He saved your mother's soul, and possibly mine, too. Chidi was now in his 70s. The scars of leprosy were still visible on his skin, but age had softened them. His hair was white, his step was slower, but his eyes were still clear and kind. He came to Amachar one final time, not to open a building or to give a speech, just to walk the streets where he had once been called cursed. Children ran up to him, calling him Uncle Chidi or Great Uncle Chidi. They did not see his scars. They only saw the man who had built their school, their clinic, their future. He walked past the tree where he had stood in the rain 25 years ago. The tree was old now, thick with branches. Children played beneath it. He walked past Chief Okonkwo's house, the house he had gifted. The chief had died years ago, but the family still lived there, keeping it well, treating it as a gift they had never deserved but were grateful to have received. He walked past Mama Ngozi's old vegetable stall. It was now a small shop run by her grandson. Above the door was a sign, Mama Ngozi's Legacy Shop, fair prices, kind service. And he walked to the clinic that bore his mother's name. Dr. Chioma was inside, treating a young boy with a skin condition. The boy was crying. The mother looked worried. Chidi watched through the window as Dr. Chioma knelt down to the boy's level. "You are not dirty," she said gently to the child. "You are not cursed. You are a beautiful child of God who has a skin condition that we can treat. Do you understand? This does not define you. You define you." The boy stopped crying. The mother's eyes filled with tears of relief. Chidi smiled. His work was done. The seed had grown into a tree that would provide shade for generations. When Chidi died, peacefully, in his sleep, at the age of 76, they found a letter in his belongings. It was addressed to Amachar village. Dr. Chioma read it aloud at his memorial service. "Dear people of Amachar, I came to your village 25 years ago as a test, not a test of you, but a test of myself. I wanted to see if I had truly healed, not just my body, but my spirit. I wanted to know if I could be kind when treated unkindly, if I could give when nothing was given to me, if I could maintain my humanity when others tried to strip it from me. You helped me pass that test, not by treating me well, many of you did not, but by giving me the opportunity to choose my response. And I chose love. I chose mercy. I chose kindness. That choice saved my life more than any medicine ever did. I want to thank Chief Okonkwo's family for teaching me that redemption is real. They were cruel to me, yes, but they changed. They grew. They became better. If they can change, anyone can change. That is a message of hope the world desperately needs. I want to thank Mama Ngozi for seeing me when I felt invisible, for treating me like a person when others treated me like a problem. She was Christ with skin on, and I will love her forever. I want to thank Dr. Chioma for taking the education I gave her and turning it into healing for thousands. This is the best return on investment I could have imagined. And I want to thank all of you for being part of my story, the good parts and the hard parts, because both taught me something valuable. If I have one message to leave with you, it is this. Do not judge people by their appearance, their wealth, or their health. Every person you meet is carrying a story you know nothing about. Treat them accordingly, with gentleness, with respect, with the dignity that every human being deserves simply by virtue of being human. The world is full of people pretending to be something they are not. Some pretend to be rich when they are poor. Some pretend to be happy when they are sad. Some pretend to be strong when they are breaking. And some, like I did, pretend to be powerless to see who will still treat them with kindness. Wherever you are, whatever you do, be the person who treats others well, regardless of what you think they can do for you. That is how you build a legacy that matters. With gratitude, Chidi Okafor. 40 years after Chidi died, the Second Chance Academy had become one of the best schools in the region. Students came from far away to attend. Every year, on the anniversary of Chidi's death, the school held a special assembly. They called it the Dignity Day. On this day, students of all ages gathered to hear the story of Chidi, but they did not just hear it, they lived it. Students were assigned random roles. Some were given nice clothes and pretend money. Others were given ragged clothes and nothing. They spent the day interacting, and at the end, they discussed what they observed. "I noticed," said one 12-year-old girl, "that the kids with nice clothes got treated better in the cafeteria. The lunch lady smiled at them more, even though we are all the same people, just wearing different clothes." "I noticed," said a 15-year-old boy, "that I felt powerful when I had the pretend money, and I started to look down on the kids who did not have it, even though I knew it wasn't real. It happened so fast, that feeling of being better." An older student, 17 years old, said quietly, "I was given the ragged clothes, and I felt ashamed, even though I knew it was just a game. I understood something today. Being treated as less than human does something to your spirit. It makes you start to believe you are less. That is why what Mr. Chidi did was so powerful. He never believed he was less, no matter how people treated him." The principal, who had been one of Mama Ngozi's younger children, nodded. "This is why we do this every year, so you remember, how you treat people matters, not just to them, but to you. It shapes who you become." Nkiru lived to be 82 years old. In her final years, she suffered from dementia. Sometimes she forgot her children's names. Sometimes she forgot where she was. But she never forgot Chidi, and she never forgot the rain. On her last day, lying in a hospital bed surrounded by her family, she suddenly became lucid. Her eyes cleared. She looked at her eldest son. "Have I been a good person?" she asked him, holding her hand. "Yes, Mama, you have been a wonderful person. You dedicated your life to serving others. But I was not always good. I was cruel once, to a good man." "Uncle Chidi," your son said softly, "we know, Mama, you told us. You changed. You became better. That is what matters." "Did he forgive me?" Her voice was anxious, like a child seeking reassurance. "Yes, Mama. He told you himself, many times. He forgave you completely." Nkiru relaxed. A tear rolled on her wrinkled cheek. "Thank God," she whispered. "Thank God. I don't want to meet him carrying that weight." She died peacefully an hour later. At her funeral, they read a letter she had written years earlier, to be opened after her death.